taking a critical look at the gaming news of the week. This is Augmented Reality, presented by the Triple S League.
And welcome to the podcast, everybody. First show of 2021. It's great to be back with you. I am Ash for the Triple S League. As always, I'm here with Cybsidian and Moontag. We are here with you for the next hour to talk about all of the news, leaks, and insights about games in the gaming industry that we bring to you on this show, known as the Augmented Reality Podcast. And we're glad you're with us. See lots of discussion already happening in the live chat. We're trying something very, very different today. A couple years ago, we made the switch to doing these podcasts live instead of edited, and it was amazing for the show. It really adds something to what we're doing here. Well, today we're trying something else new for the first time. We are doing our very first call-in show, and so we're going to be having some other voices from our Discord community joining us. If you want to get in on that, check out the waiting room chat in our Discord server. There's instructions there. There's the topic posted there. We'll be getting to those calls in about 15 minutes or so. We'll start the call-in segment of the show. We're just going to cover some other news stories first. Anyway, welcome everybody. Got some breaking news. Got some shocking news, Moon and Cyb. Apparently, I mean, this just in from the top brass at the Gaming Studies Institute have reported that apparently, after a game's been out for a while, fewer people play it. I know, shock. Your stunned silence is.
This is shocking news, ladies and gentlemen. You know the beep 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 beep. You know the news info and the
we don't bring the beeps for no reason.
Yes, yeah, the beeps are going off and this just in, ladies and gentlemen. I have to report that Sonic the Hedgehog, Super Mario Brothers, and indeed even newer games like BioShock and even games like The Witcher have suffered from an enormous amount of people that no longer play the game. It's shocking, ladies and gentlemen. There were people playing these games in large numbers, but apparently after having completed the main story, they have no longer decided to continue playing the game. This has affected everybody. Everybody. I mean, even Red Dead Redemption 2. I hate to say it, but and Horizon Zero Dawn has suffered catastrophic numbers of people that are no longer playing the game on a daily basis. Ladies and gentlemen, this is huge. This is the humanity. Absolutely right, Time Beat. This is absolutely stunning, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely stunning. Thanks to the hard-working journalists who crawled through mud and dirt for months on end to bring us this fascinating bit of useless and pointless news.
So yes, a couple articles out today about how Cyberpunk 2077 has lost 79% of its player base since it launched about a month ago. To be fair, this one article that's reporting on this says this is typical of most single-player games. That amount of drop. However, open world games are usually an exception. Open world games usually retain a higher player base for longer, and The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt retained about half of its player base a month after it launched in May 2015. This is
also a lot longer.
True. So anyway, yeah. So this is news apparently. I don't know what to say about it. Of course, there's fewer people playing it now, and especially when you consider that the game was removed from the PlayStation Store, and all of the people who are saying I'm not going to play it right now, but I plan to go back to it later after some patches and upgrades and fixes have been implemented. This isn't surprising. I'm surprised it's not lower, to be perfectly honest, because there's a large number of people who bought it and are waiting to play it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm honestly surprised it's not lower. Anyway, just wanted to start off with that one as a bit of a funny story. By the way, I'm talking to you through a brand new microphone. How's it sound? Let me know. So, couple more Cyberpunk stories before we get to our main Cyberpunk topic. Which is going to be our call-in topic of the show. But we should probably talk about this this situation surrounding this indie game since a Cyberpunk ghost story from I believe is it a Japanese studio? I'm not familiar with the name of the developer, but anyway, this game.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, the game is Japanese. The publishers are, I believe, the publishers are based in North America, called Top Hat. I believe it's Top Hat. I believe it's North America.
Now this game's
But yeah,
been
Top
out.
Hat, publishers.
This game's been out for over 6 months. It's been out since, not over 6 months, but about 6 months. It was released in August of 2020 on Steam, but all of this controversy around this game started when the Nintendo Switch release was announced, and the developers, they've posted collages of the nasty comments and emails and tweets and everything, with everything from scolding them for daring to have large-chested women in this game to death threats and legal threats, which I find hilarious. Apparently, there's some parents threatening to sue if they catch their kids playing this game on the Switch. Now, it seems to me like there's a variety of motivations behind all of this, but the amount of controversy that this game seems to have stirred up. Now, there is some debate and discussion about how much of it the developers are actually responsible for by responding to it in such a public way, and are they leveraging it for publicity? Which, I mean, I kind of think, of course they are. I mean, if why not at that point? That's my personal opinion. But this is all because the women and the female characters in this game have abnormally large chests. Why is this a controversy?
Sure, abnormally is a weird word, because it depends where you're from.
Well, it depends on the picture. Well, sure, and it depends on the picture you're looking at. In some pictures, in the actual game screenshots and stuff, they actually look like, okay, maybe above average, but not not absurdly disproportionate. But in some of the promotional art, they definitely look largely disproportionate. But
it's also an art style.
This is, that's exactly what it is. It's an artistic choice. If you don't like it, maybe don't play the game.
Yeah, it's like complaining about Clamp because they draw people with really long necks and they're all very beautiful. Personally, I love it. They all look like swans.
Yeah. So, now, again, it's hard to quantify the actual amount of backlash. There's been a lot of people who've been very supportive of the studio, but you look at the montages or the collages of tweets and messages that the developer has put together, it does seem like it's definitely over the top and kind of crazy. I don't know, it's bizarre. And then what's going on with why what happened to, if you don't like something, don't buy it or don't pay for it?
Or the knowledge of just the oh darn, I forgot the name of it. What's the singer with the big nose?
I don't know. There's a lot of people with noses,
but it's an actual effect. It's like the Streisand effect. Thank you. The Streisand effect, where it's like, if you want people to pay attention to something, bring attention to it. And if you want somebody to try something dangerous or try something different or try something, just try something, whatever. It's like, one of the best ways you could do that is put up a big sign that says, "Hey, do not do this." I can't tell you how many monuments I've seen where it's like there's a big sign that says, "Do not climb this," and what do you see people do on a daily basis? Climb it. Do you know what happens when you pull down those signs? Fewer people climb it. Shocker. I mean,
it's the classic situation. Yeah, don't look here. Don't look at this. Don't have this. Well, that's all the people want. It's basic human psychology. So they're working against themselves. The devs are definitely leveraging this for some publicity. I honestly don't blame them for it.
Well, exactly. I would totally respond for it.
Yeah, sure. Unless they went and faked all this, which it does not look like they have. I would say this is perfectly fine.
Mhm.
But
Also,
yeah,
want to say thank you to the Islington girl for the super chat. She says, "Thanks,
Mhm.
guys."
yeah, and you're
Thank
very welcome. I
you.
know Islington Girl had a lot to say about this on our Discord server, so you are welcome. Thanks for being with us. Thank you for the support. And yeah, this is
So
but
I did
what's absolutely ridiculous about this, and is I find that this idea that if people see women drawn this way, we're talking about drawings of female characters, this somehow encourages violence. Like that connection is just bizarre.
I don't get the violence thing. I can get the I don't want to be viewed as an object thing, which is a very valid argument to have.
Mhm.
But and I mean, Moon knows I have railed on that for a number of hours at a time. And it's a conversation that we should have at some point. But it's like this is not that. Like it's really not. Um, it's always so weird to me that people are so quick to demand that fictional characters who grow up in especially in worlds that are not like friendly or normal or in a positive like affirming environment, how they grow up and react in that environment in ways that are not necessarily healthy to the average human, how suddenly those people have to change to be perfect, to be perfect. It's like I don't think you could. I
Mhm.
don't think you can have stories
Well, and
if that's the demand.
there you go. There and the other side of this. I mean, we got to move on, so we
Yeah.
got to kind of rush to the end
I
of
will
this. But
be.
the other point of this is what happened to body positivity and the push against body shaming? There are
Yeah.
Mhm.
like is it wrong now to be a well endowed woman? I mean, that's the point that Islington Girl brought up, and that it about how
Mhm.
it body shames for being well endowed. Uh, I mean, a good, very good point. I had not actually even considered that, but yeah, like hell, seeing all this backlash against this, what's an actual, a large-breasted woman going to feel about that, about herself? I mean, so
Right.
you screw all this. This is very stupid. If you don't like the game, if you think it's not, I mean, you're entitled to your opinion. Just don't buy the game. Stop
Yeah.
Exactly.
railing on Nintendo. I think that's part of it is that it's Nintendo now that's putting it out and their family-friendly image is being shattered. But come on, The Witcher
Mhm.
3's on there. Give me
Oh,
a break.
you mean
There's all kinds of.
hold up. You mean Nintendo who created a story about a witch who doesn't wear clothing, but instead uses her hair as her clothes to form clothes and guns and fight demons? You mean that super family friendly company? Oh, okay, all right, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
well,
makes
that's exactly the
yeah.
point. It's the same. Yeah, it's the same silliness as the people who think that the Muppets were intended for children.
Yeah.
Muppets.
So this is going to be a topic that I will be on talking about with Max Durat and another guest here on I don't know what day it's coming out. I believe it'll be hopefully sometime before the weekend on his channel. I've been doing some weekly guest spots over there, doing more kind of a news kind of thingy there. So like I'm going to rail on that for quite a bit, and I think that's going to be one of the heavier discussions that day.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah, we
that's
should
that.
leave that there so we can get on to our other.
Now I will use this to springboard into our next thing, which is some of the hot news that we have. I'm going to go over it very quickly here before we get to the calls. Um, but I've got two hot news things, and one of them is kind of connected to this. So what we see here is we see Nintendo embracing more of the indie type games that 4 years ago would have typically showed up on the PlayStation, and in a lot of cases would have showed up exclusively on the PlayStation. There's a lot of Japanese developers who make small indie games that 4 or 5, 6 years ago were always guaranteed to show up on the PlayStation Store. They would sell locally in Japan, and then that would be about it. Nobody ever raised a fuss, nobody ever complained. But now those games are coming more and more to other platforms, specifically Nintendo and Steam, because the Japanese have been buying up PCs like crazy and have been going heavily into the PC market and have been turning their back in mass. I read a very, very sharp article the other day that is reporting that major sales of PlayStations are significantly down in Japan, and that Japanese people as a whole are turning their backs on Sony because they feel that the company has abandoned both its roots and as well as its ethics and morals. So this actually leads us into the story that we're going to talk about a little bit here with Cyberpunk, in the fact that there was this developer note that came out, posted on Reddit, got a lot of traction today. CDPR has come out and said that they've confirmed that is not a developer. I don't know how they know that, because you'd have to like talk to Reddit about that.
Well, they say it actually. They just say the post is not true.
The post
has been going along. True. The post going around is called alleged CDPR dev talks about state of Cyberpunk 2077 and future plans. It's been going around for about 3 weeks. Today, CDPR came out and said the post is not true. That's what they say.
So
anyway, carry on.
So the big news here is that I've been talking with a lot of other people in our circles, a lot of contacts, and I don't know if this was written by a developer. There's a large group of a number of things that were said in the post that are highly suspect. Highly suspect. I can't reiterate that enough. There are other things that are true. And about 20% of the post is factually like very much correct. I mean, we reported on it, other people reported on it. This was a well-known thing that one of the things that they were going to have is they were going to have this like wasteland area underground, and part of Night City, that there was going to be this big underground thing, because the city was built on top, essentially was built on top of the newer parts of the city were built over top of the older parts of the city. And so there was going to be buried architecture, there was going to be buried areas and zones, there were going to be lots of gangs and stuff fighting back and forth, that kind of stuff. That we confirmed again today that information was indeed very accurate, and that it was scuttled due to kind of a change in direction, as well as Mike Pondsmith retconning how the city was rebuilt. So this is something that we need to kind of take a quick kind of like glance at and go, okay, that seems to be very well informed. Other parts of it, not so well informed, including the quote, and I quote, "The PS5 code is an improvement on the PC due to the awesome dev kit that Sony put together for this generation." That statement is a lie.
That's highly suspect, yeah.
That statement is, not only does it sound like some PR person at PlayStation wrote this, but that statement is a lie, because out of a lot of people that we've talked to in the industry as a whole, and especially coming from CDPR and some of these other studios, the PS5 code is let me quote here from 10 developers. Yes, 10 developers I've heard this from. The PS5 code is, and I quote, "trash."
Oof.
End quote. So yeah, I very much suspect that this is a huge, gigantic red flag.
Very sus, as people are saying in the chat. Very, very sus. Yeah.
One of the things that
written by someone hiding an event somewhere.
One of the things that this is that the TRC has been changed, so that if you want certification for a PS4 game right now, and this has been true for the last year, then your game has to work on the PS5 as well. And this was put out again. Multiple developers from multiple studios confirmed that this was a change that was brought about in the summertime in 2020. That if you wanted to publish a game on the PS4, your game had to work for the PS5 as well, with the same code. This has been a nightmare for hundreds of developers trying to put games onto two different operating systems that are different, that for some reason are required to be the same program with the same executable files that work on both consoles. And this is probably one of the biggest reasons why this game and a handful of others have been experiencing more bugs on the PlayStation recently. Again, I'm not calling out PlayStation players. I really want to make that clear. But PlayStation themselves is turning their back on both developers and players and are now going for this hard profit margin. And again, this is not who they were 4 years ago. They moved to the States, they put their headquarters in California, right next to all these other companies that have done even worse things, paying their staff less than livable wages while they hand out enormous bonuses in the double digit millions every year to certain people within the higher ups of the company, while also at the same time quoting that they've made more money this year than they have in the last like 2 or 3 years combined, and this is the best year ever. So again, this is a corporate greed problem. This is not a player problem. This is a corporate greed problem, and the fact that Sony, who again was a hero 8 years ago, is now apparently turning their back on the players. And this line definitely throws this whole article into question. Now, there are some things, like we said, with the underground that was very accurate, and not a lot of people know about what's gone on there. But what that was true. Where they got that info, I don't know.
Sounds like a mixed bag, but yes, it's very. You got to take all of these things with a grain of salt. I mean, the best lies have some truth mixed in. So, who knows? I mean, who knows? Maybe it's a former dev that has outdated information. Who knows? We just don't know at this point. There's any number of varieties, but I mean, CD Projekt is denying it outright. While at the same time, there is some info in there that does seem to be accurate. The other big revelation this week, which I'll just touch on briefly, and then we'll get into our callers, the Judy Alvarez romance in Cyberpunk 2077, which as many of you probably know, is only available if you're playing as a female protagonist V. Well, it's actually built into the game to have that romance with a male V as well. Male V's lines are recorded, and you can activate it by changing a single line of code, as some modders figured out this week. So this has led to a lot of questions about this. Now, CD Projekt's response is that it was always intended, Judy was always intended as a female-only romance option, and that it was basically they recorded the male V's lines just to simplify things, and the exact quote was, "It was simply more convenient and easier for our localization team from a production point of view to record all the lines with both voices so we could avoid missing something by mistake that would require future recordings." I don't know if I buy that. It does definitely seem like they at least wanted the option to be there.
Let me walk through the logic of that. So basically, the logic is, instead of having two different scripts for the main character, you've got scripts for, and we'll use a thing that more people are familiar with. You've got scripts for the main character in this Mass Effect series, and then you've got scripts for Liara and Ashley and a couple other characters in the main cast. You're giving each of those side characters are given a full script interacting with all the interactions that they have. Now, there's some interactions that you only have with female V and male V. And the easier thing to do in a strict, like, making sure that nothing is missed category, is to take the combined scripts of the entire main character and have both male and female actors, or more if you have different voice. If you have different voice types like we have in Inquisition, and just have those people read the entire script from scratch. But why would you put the dialogue from those things into the game? That's where it doesn't make sense.
That is a very good question. I mean, it's not a ton of dialogue, it's not a lot of lines, but they are there. And but now I went and watched the scenes side by side because someone put out a video of the male V romance. The animation is exactly the same. The animation for the snoo scene that follows. So that's not different. It is exactly the same. So maybe, I mean, that does suggest that maybe it was only ever intended for the female protagonist. unless it was just done for simplicity. I think the real test for this was, what about the other 3 romances? Are the lines in there for the opposite character? That's what I want to see, and so I'm looking forward to finding that out. Okay.
Well, the good news on this is that, hello, ladies and gentlemen, we now have way more capacity for mods than we thought we did a few days ago. So this is big. Like, this is huge. Like, this is like more modding, more modding, more modding.
Indeed. All right, we're gonna get on to the call section of our show.
Yes, and as we get going, don't forget to slam that like button. It likes it rough. It tells us and YouTube that you appreciate this content. And for those listening after the fact on one of the audio-only platforms, we're glad to have you join us and grateful for your likes and follows there too. To get the latest info sooner, be sure to hit the link in the description below to subscribe to the Triple S League YouTube channel.
Lots of great content coming your way. We did a video on the secret ending, exactly how to get it, exactly what it is. Check that out. And lots more coming on that. All right, let's get to our community members who are very patiently waiting. Thank you, everybody. Now, Time Being technically volunteered first to be the first caller, but Shua actually posted first in the waiting room chat room. So who should we go with? What do you think? I'll let you decide, Moon.
First come, first serve.
Yes, but who is first? That's my question. Let's go with Time Being. Okay, Time Being first then.
Yes, Time Being, because we were talking. I was talking to Time Being before we posted that in the mod chat.
All right, drag her on over. So, by the way, this is the first time we're doing this. So, if there's a little bit of technical jank, apologize to those of you listening. Hey, Time Being.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. I was like, take Shua. I feel bad for taking his spot.
No, well, technically you volunteered first in the other in the other channel though, in the other channel. So
that's true. Yeah.
So the question we're tackling today that we want your opinions on, we'll also read some opinions from the live chat and some of you who sent some stuff who couldn't join the voice show because I know it's not a good time for all of you, but how can Cyberpunk 2077 be fixed and anything related to that? That's our topic today. All right, go ahead, Bean. What's up?
Yeah, so I have lots of issues with the game, and I think a lot of folks do. So I went on a lot about it in the Discord, but I kind of took this question as, what could they actually do now? What is something they could do in 6 months so that 6 months from now we'd have closer to the kind of game we were expecting? And I think that the big thing is using the reputation system in a way that makes sense in terms of the way the game progresses. There's a reputation system in there. There's different areas with different fixers. And I just don't understand why they didn't make the side quests more worth doing by having it to where you had to kind of increase your reputation before different fixers in different areas would contact you. I think it would give you more investment into doing the side quests. And they could have easily linked it to the main quest by saying, you can't get into this bar unless your reputation system is high enough, or unless you've interacted with the fixer in this area, that sort of thing. It just seems like it was meant to be there, and it's not. And I don't understand why.
I would very much agree with that. Honestly, I was expecting more of a reputation system with the gangs. We were told you can't become a gang member. We were told that many months ago. But to have a reputation system with the gangs, absolutely, I 100% agree.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be a faction system. I know that would be a really difficult thing to implement, but just to add a little progression to keep me invested into doing these side missions. It's just kind of there as like a veneer. It's like, it's almost that Skyrim approach, right? Like, go and do whatever you want. Just go and enjoy the world. And that's great, but it really reduces how immersed you are in the world. And it takes away that element of RPGing, which I think a lot of people want. Right? It makes you feel like something that you're doing has some consequences, and that's a low-hanging fruit consequence I think they could easily put in the game.
Well, and there's been much smaller games from much smaller studios who have those kinds of systems in place that work well. And so I agree. I think that could work well. And this ties in kind of with the whole issue with the police. The police system that is basically broken. They just kind of spawn in as soon as you do something illegal, and then 20 seconds after you're out of sight, though, your wanted stars just go away. That was one of the disappointing aspects of the game. And I'll just clarify that I thoroughly enjoy playing the game, but it is kind of disappointing that there's so much more that could have been done with it, And I agree. An in-depth faction system like that affects where you can go and maybe how the other gangs look at you, that would be fantastic. Moon, you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, no, I totally agree, because oftentimes I'm running around the city and I'll see some random little yellow marks indicating, hey, there's some like gang people or some potential adversaries over here, right? But usually I'm on my way to a thing, and from what I can see, interacting with these gangs doesn't really change much with my interactions with people in the gangs, like Wakako, for example. So, like, what's the point of me interacting with them? So I just run right on by.
Yeah, agreed. And then the Wakako is tied to the Tiger Claws gang, but I mean, you can go shoot up a bunch of Tiger Claws gang members, and it doesn't affect your relationship with her at all.
Yeah, she's a cruel mistress.
All right. Well, thank you, Bean. Any final thoughts?
Nope, that's it.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being our very first caller.
Yeah.
It's great talking
to
you. All right. Shua next. Whoops, I'm dragging that. I shouldn't try to do that at the same time that you're doing that, Moon. I'll just let you do the dragging of the people. Hey, Shua, how's it going? We have our resident PlayStation 5 in the house. I just need to turn you up because you're really, really quiet. So, yeah, how's it going?
Is that any better?
That is much
it's
better.
Going good. Okay.
That is much better.
So,
welcome.
Thank you for having me. My first issue is the stability issues. First and foremost, beyond anything else that gets done, we got to get this game working properly on the consoles. This is unacceptable. I mean, beyond anything, if you can't even play the game, it doesn't matter what other fixes they make because you can't play the game. Surprisingly, I started the game on a PS4 Pro, upgraded to a PS5, and it actually played more stably on my Pro than it does on my 5.
Really?
Surprisingly, yes.
Wow.
I was averaging 2 hours a crash on my 4, and there have been times when I've started up, played 15 minutes, and have it crash on my 5, which is unbelievable to me. But I think that's the first issue that needs to get handled.
Okay. Certainly agree. I mean, if there's people who completely can't play the game, then obviously that's not an acceptable situation.
And then my second issue is a couple of quality of life issues, specifically inventory management. It is very frustrating to go through your inventory and have to select items one at a time to either disassemble them or to sell them. I want to be able to click everything and say, get rid of all of this stuff in one go, because it makes me not care that they put all the effort into having all this stuff in the game, because all it does is weigh me down and it fills up my inventory and it doesn't do me any good. So that's very frustrating.
That's true. I was expecting a little bit more of a boost or like variety in perks when like dealing with like any of the food in there. Like, do you know how disappointing it has been? Every time I go run over to an icon that looks like it's a sushi icon, and there is no sushi actually available. All I find are burritos.
Yeah, there's a lot of burritos in this game. A lot of burritos. But they are in California,
burritos.
So I guess
maybe that's why.
That's your thing.
Is that why Night City's so
They're
polluted?
the future.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Those are my biggest issues.
Lots of so quality of life things. I agree. It's these little things. Like there's a couple of big things which can be chalked up to design choices, like the structure of the story. The storyline doesn't. Our decisions don't affect the story as much as maybe people would like. You could chalk that up to a design decision. I think that the point of the story is different. And I'll cover this in some videos that I'm going to be putting out about the endings and what I think about them. But yeah, it's a bunch of little things that just all add up together to a lot of annoyances, And I'm speaking as someone who really loves this game and loves the story and loves the characters, and even I enjoy the combat. It's not the most in-depth combat system that I've ever played, but
once I found a decent smart weapon, they're actually pretty fun.
There's some cool stuff you can
do
with when you get high level weapons that are like tech weapons or smart weapons. Yeah, agreed.
Mm-hmm.
And I know.
Well, thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Glad to hear from you. And I know Shu is another one who really enjoys the game especially for the story aspects and stuff like that. Those dogs in the background there. Oh, he's gone.
I just moved them over.
Well, they're not my dogs.
Not your dogs for once.
Quiet.
I'm just gonna read a message from. So Ghost MD isn't able to join us for a call in, but sent me these thoughts. Ghost MD says, bring an alternative UI for keyboard and mouse, walking key rebinds, and so on. Yes, that's desperately needed. There's a bunch of mods already that tackle that stuff, but that's desperately needed. Bring back loyalty systems for shops and rippers, and I would add gangs to that. That's kind of what Time Bean was talking about. Bring back the humanity loss system. Yeah, I can see an argument for that. I mean, there's CDPR has been saying for a long time that they don't want you to be able to go cyber psycho because that would be a game over. But the way that cyber psychos are treated in the game, though, it's not really true. You basically you take them down, and the theory is you take them down, and then they get hopefully treated. But I guess that's theoretical. That's theoretical, though. And then make the living city more interactive. That's another one of the big things is that, like the clubs you can't get into, the night, like there's just a lack of casual things to do if you just want to
there's so many locked doors.
Yeah, take a night off from Merc work and just kick back and hit the clubs and stuff like that. So there we go.
Oh, thank you for the super chat, Darkness. Fudge Muppet has 2 videos that perfectly explains what's missing and what needs to get fixed.
All right, yeah. If anything, if anyone wants to check that out, yeah. And I mean, there's lots
with the console, with the PlayStation thing that Shua brought up, again, this is a recent revelation that it appears as if PlayStation forced them to make a singular file, essentially. Now, not obviously singular file, but a singular program to run the game on all their different versions. Whereas Xbox did not require that and encouraged them to make a separate game file for both different console gens. So this may be the source of the problem as far as the PlayStation goes, because again, it's very hard to get a program that runs fluid, like really, really well on 2 different operating systems, and those are 2 completely different operating systems. Microsoft's been doing it for decades and decades with Windows, but even there, they have to let some programs go when they go from generation to generation. So that may be a problem, and perhaps CDPR will have the power to walk in and basically say, "Hey, we're not doing this anymore. You have to let us make 2 different files."
It's like saying you have to make your app work on the newest, shiniest iPhone. Oh, but it also has to work on the iPhone 6 from 8 years ago or however long. Kind of that kind of like the exact same app has to work on. Yeah, and
that
2.
does not work that way. It just doesn't.
Okay. Next up, we got Lady Reaver. So as Muteg's going to drag her in here. Hey, how's it going?
Oh, hello.
Nice.
We were talking, sorry. And I was like, whoa, I'm suddenly here.
Yeah, there's going to be a bit of a delay. If you're waiting in the waiting room, you might suddenly find yourself here. We'll just beam you in. It's like Star Trek.
Oh, also thank you, Shua, for the super chat. He says, "My doggos apologize for the barking and would like to buy you guys a coffee."
Oh hell, we should have let them bark longer.
Yes, make them sing.
Thank you, Shua. That's not necessary, but very, very appreciated. All right, Reaver, your thoughts?
Well, because apparently I'm the master of love at the moment. Well, my thoughts is that I think they probably should put more. They should redo the romances. Well, not really redo them. I think they just need to be fixed up.
Expand on them.
Exactly. In some cases, there were some romances where the flirting options just suddenly happen. Like, you go on this buddy cop mission, and then you suddenly sit on the tower, and your first prompt you get is to kiss the character. And it's like, up until that moment, you guys were friends, and that wasn't, like, there was no flirting build up or any tension, the spiciness leading up to that.
But there's a real imbalance there, isn't there, between some of the characters and certain other of the characters. Like, you look at Pan Am and Judy, much more build up there, and then but in some ways the other two, Carrie and what's his name, River, kind of feel tacked on to the end. And we talked about that. Now I'll give everybody out there a bit of a tease for an upcoming video. Moon and I actually had a long conversation with Time Bean and Lady Reaver yesterday. We recorded we talked for almost 2 hours, going
2 hours,
deep into the romances. So you want to hear a much lengthier conversation about that. That'll be coming as soon as we can get it out.
And we definitely could have gone on for longer, just so you know.
Had to call it somewhere. Anyway, I agree with you, Lady Reaver. I think that not only should those two, especially those two male characters that you can romance, not only should those be expanded upon, but there should be more. Because especially if you're going to limit it to, okay, if you are a straight male, you can only romance that character. If you're a gay female, you can only romance that character. Well, at least give me a choice of two.
I like having the choice. Thank you.
Like, if you're going to say, okay, all of our characters there's only a certain type of character you make that they're attracted to. It's very limiting. All right.
Sorry.
Just want to say, so we've got 5 people in the queue after Lady Reaver here. We'll get to all 5 of those. Wasn't expecting so much response, to be perfectly honest. So Jamuse is the currently the last one on the queue. Well, guarantee we'll get to Jamuse. If you enter the queue after Jamuse, can't guarantee you'll get on today's show because we do have a time limit. I can push it a little farther today. Like, I can push the time limit a little farther today, but I can't let my family starve for too long before we go. So
poor Ash's poor family. They're sitting there upstairs waiting and crying. Where's Dad?
It's okay.
Dad's
I think
gonna come.
It's okay. You know what? My kids are playing Among Us right now, and I think my wife's taking a nap. So we should be good, but they'll be hungry. Anyway, any final thoughts, Lady Reaver?
They should make Takamura a romance option.
Yes. Yes, 100%.
I told Moon that I had this wish this morning. I wish to have a Takamura and female V comic where Takamura or V, is like, the homemaker while the other one's off, like, doing like missions and stuff like that. And then one comes home and they greet them, maybe V comes home and Takamura's got a nice dinner set out, or like, Takamura comes home and V's in a nice like kimono going, "Welcome back, husband. You're so wonderful. Let me prepare a meal for you." And, just this really cute, like, very funny, like, scenarios that the two can have, because that relationship so far to me has been probably the best. Like, like Judy is up there as a number 2, but she's got a lot of baggage. She's got a lot of baggage.
But I'm willing to give her a second chance.
I think it's fine. To have a character that has a lot of baggage, I think that's real. There's some realism to that. Yeah.
Yes.
But I do think that, like, if there's only one character that you can romance with your particular way that you're playing your character, and you don't like that person's personality, well, then you're screwed. So yeah, there's definitely some more that could be done there. All right, thanks, Reaver. Really appreciate you joining us, and appreciate how involved you are in the community, as well as the rest of you who have joined us here as well. Okay, we had Atomic Stew is no longer in the waiting room, so we'll go next to Woolly Ram. Bring Woolly Ram in. Hi there, welcome to the show.
Ram.
Woolly Ram, are you there, and are you unmuted?
Hello, hello.
Hi.
Hello, there. We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now. Yeah. How's it going?
Excellent.
Good,
It's
good.
going well enough. So, I guess I'll just get to the point.
Yeah.
When I started, basically once the honeymoon period of Cyberpunk stopped, I just got to the realization that I had this feeling a few years back when I tried out Destiny 2. Because Cyberpunk feels like something that at some point was a very good game, and then some god machine forsaken asshole from Ubisoft and Sony traipsed all over that game and shat on it, with the whole just spreading things all over the map for you to do and be uninterested in, but you have to do for completion's sake.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who made the decision to do this.
I can tell you who made the decision to do this. The same people that made the decision to do this to a lot of games that we've had are the same people that were behind Anthem, and that's people who are in the company who are supposed to be analysts and design creators
you mean
who are
MBA
going
business school cokeheads.
Yes, the business school types, the upper crust educated people who say, "Oh, sir, I've done the numbers, and we need the game to have a certain amount of this and a certain amount of that, and you have to have a certain flair like this, and if you don't do that, then you're stupid, because nobody wants a game where we all sit around and try to plan to murder each other through various means. That's ridiculous. That's a child's game. That's not going to do well." And so it really does come down to a lot of these people who have concepts and ideas of what a game is supposed to be like, and they choose to, instead of relying on the community to drive gaming and the developers to actually make the things that they're interested in and that they want to make. And this is why I'm so excited for the studios that Microsoft, the whole movement that Microsoft is doing, because they recognize this, because they almost died. They almost died. Like, Microsoft almost cut off the Xbox from them, and they were going to auction it off and close it down. And why did the people change their mind? Because they realized that when you get a bunch of eggheads into a room who are the upper crust educated types who are saying, "I know what the people want," that's most often not what the people want. Especially in games.
Onto what will actually, I think, the baseline fixes that absolutely have to be put in. On PC at least, it's performance and especially texture streaming. That has to be fixed. It can't be that I have a fairly modern PC and a PCI SSD, and I still get texture streaming glitches. Not in the distance. Things that are 3 or 4 meters away from my character, I can see their textures being streamed in while I'm playing. That has to stop, because if this game is to be actually immersive, the technology actually has to support the visual and audible side of the game. Because here's another problem: the audio engineering here is scuffed as hell. Because if I'm let's say in one of those scenes where another character is driving the car, and it's raining, and the windows are up, and there's a conversation going on outside in the street, it should sound muffled. It should not sound as if whoever is talking is in the car with me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Now, speaking again on the whole immersion thing.
Going. Yeah, it just keeps
on the
going.
whole immersion thing, the phone. Why is your phone not either a physical object in your character's hand or a holographic interface that your implants show to you? Why is it that when I want to send a message to what's her face, the police fixer who has you hunting the cyber psychos? So whenever you want to finish the mission, you have to send her a message that it's done and she can pick up the psycho. Why do I need to go into press tab, and then of course the interface doesn't actually go straight to the message pertaining to the mission I'm doing right now. It goes somewhere in the middle, and I have to scroll and find her and then find the message. Speaking of the whole interface, as I wrote in the message, whoever made that interface, he and his interface probably need to be exorcised by a properly ordained, tech priest.
Bring in the tech priests with the holy.
We're going 40K here. This is great.
This interface it's like someone took the worst of console interface and mobile phone interface, and completely forgot about PCs, like having keys, having more than 4 keys at your disposal at a time. That's who it seems like this interface was designed for.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was designed for consoles, so I mean, you do have some of those limitations.
I've seen console. Okay, just as an example, right? Random one, to be pulled out of my butt. So, Ghost of Tsushima. It has a elegantly designed, nested interface that's logical, presents information to you, and you can always move forward, move backwards with ease.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well,
this interface
this is something that's interesting that ties into my earlier one of our earlier talking points, and that is that the Japanese developers who are making games, a lot of them are now embracing PC setups, and they are now going out of their way.
That's because Sony, as Raging Golden Eagle likes to say, they've gone full California.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly where they are now. Thank you for your thoughts, Wooly Ram.
Anyway, just one last point, which I think is also very important.
Mm-hmm.
Systemic character development has to be reinforced, because right now, and this actually ties into the whole immersion and to the whole, Ubisoft vandal who shat on the game. There is no reason not to play the game like any other open world game, with points of interests, a moderate, stealth system, and light RPG elements. It basically plays like all of those games.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole RPG system has to be, given more depth, more impact. If you want to be a stealth guy, it has to be hard to be a stealth guy. It can't be, just having 10 cool and 1 perk, and then you're welcome. You're a stealth guy.
Awesome.
It can't be like this, because otherwise everybody just has the exact same build and there's absolutely no play diversity.
All right. Well, excellent thoughts. Thank you for. I just have a question for you, Willie Ram. Are you aware that you sound like Liam Neeson?
I've been told that before. Yes.
Yes, we need. I've got some great ideas for you. We're gonna do some fun side stuff if you want.
All right. Well,
I don't recommend the process it took me to get to this, because it took 10 years of smoking and drinking. So don't try this at home.
All right. Well, thank you for your thoughts today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right.
See you around.
Some, not all, but some of what he was talking about there, I wonder how much was technical limitations that they weren't anticipating. And I wonder if we'll see improvements to some of it, such as like the sound inside the cars thing. I wonder if there's a technical limitation to that might get fixed in the next gen version of the game that comes down the pipe. Or maybe they ran out of time to do stuff like that. Who knows? Anyway, next up we have, because I don't see Atomic Stew.
Ice Blast.
So Ice Blast is next. Hello, Ice Blast. How are you doing? You are live on the show.
All right, thank you.
How's it going? And let us know your thoughts.
All right, so my thoughts are it's a little different from everyone else. So I'm aware that everyone would like the bugs fixed, and that's all fine and dandy. But I have, I guess, a different issue. So regarding to the NPC behavior and the plots, well, not the plot, but more how the small side quests are delivered, I think could be improved. Just yesterday, I was doing, I'm taking my time slow. I got like 100 hours in the game, doing stealth build, and there is a Buddhist quest, side quest.
Yeah.
And I did that. And I did what they said. I didn't kill anyone, knocked them all out. It was pretty easy. And then his buddy was, you rescue his buddy, and you save him. And then, I feel bad for the guy. And I was like, well, I'm going to escort him out of the place. Make sure he's safe, because you never know. There might be some scavengers or maelstrom groups that are waiting outside. You never know. So I'm going to follow him. Just make sure, see what happens. See if he follows his buddy. And he walks outside, and he hits the edge of near the river or the lake or the water. And he just sits there and just meditates. And I'm like, your brother wants to see you right now. Like, are you going to move? And I waited.
And he's like, I can't wait to see my brother. Then he just walks off and he just does nothing, basically. It's like...
Yeah, he sits there and meditates. He's like, I need to rest. And I'm like, like I see scars in his arm, and I'm like, maybe he's like suffering from traumatic, and maybe he's predestined to wait 5 days before seeing his brother. I'm like, you're just making your brother suffer. Like he maybe come out of his way to go get you, and you're just gonna make him wait. Yeah. And it's just stuff like that. Or like when you're just playing the game and you can kill a group of enemies of one type, and then their buddy could be walking down the road and then just not give any care in the world that all these bodies are lying on the ground and they're not, reacting to that.
So
it's
some
like,
of that world,
isolated.
like world logic and quest logic stuff. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And
that's
is where
the one that bugged me was
go ahead.
I was supposed to stealthily, like non-lethally take down this particular character. So I snuck in, I did that, no combat, nothing like that. I'm like, well, I'm gonna be a professional here. I'm gonna I knocked this person out, didn't kill them, knocked them out non-lethally. I'm like, I'm gonna hide the body, so I'm gonna put them in this this dresser or whatever it was. I can't even remember what it was. And that counted as killing them. I was like, what the hell? Like,
yeah, I discovered that too. Garbage. I guess some of those garbage bins are like
lethal
compressors or like garbage disposals with like blades in them or something, because it's like, oh, why'd you kill that person? I'm like, and the shock too, from my perspective, like I've been doing a stealth run all the way through, right, non-lethally, as far as I could go, and I suddenly realized, wait a minute, you mean these things that I've been putting people in, they're not just gonna wake up and get out of them? Oh dear,
you just killed everybody. Yeah,
it's
good
like
job.
You discover that you've been using air quotes wrong, and when you told your buddy that you're going home to to pee in his cereal, well, it turns out that you've been using that air quote wrong, and he thinks that you actually did it. So yeah, there's a lot of problems with that, and the NPC IQ, their intelligence, their scripts, their movements, it should have been so much better. We need to move on very quickly because we're coming up to an hour.
Yeah.
So
right,
thank you so much, Ice Blast. Anything else?
Yeah, one other thing. So another thing with just the game in general, I feel it's lacking. There's a GDC video on YouTube called by Scott Rigby. It's called the Freedom Fallacy. It's like an hour long. I think it came out in like 2015, like just after Witcher came out, and you can watch it free on YouTube. And he talks about
I think I've seen that one actually.
The player engagement.
It's a lot of illusion of choice and not actual real choice. Yeah.
He talks about GTA. He talks about Fallout. He talks about Skyrim. He talks about Witcher 3, and he talks about like what do they mean for people in terms of an emotional investment, in terms of storytelling. Like he gives examples about GTA 5. It's like a roller coaster. The story doesn't matter. The plot doesn't matter. The matter is this: it's like a big amusement park with all these little rides that you can ride, you can do, you can freedom, you can do whatever you want within this amusement park, and you can do them in any order that you want. But in terms of changing the world, changing the story, it's very limited. Whereas Skyrim, you can be whoever you want to be within reason, and you get to do all this stuff, but the problem is the outcome does not change. That you can play as a lizard creature or a vampire or whatever and beat the game, and the ending is the same. Maybe there's some slight differences to some degree, but the world itself does not change.
Yeah, it's a converging story. It's like, yeah, it's what I call, I don't know if there's another term for it, but the term I came up for it is a converging storyline, where it drives you to the same point every time, but the details are different. And that's the way most games are, honestly. It seems to be the minority of games that actually let you drastically change the path of the story. But anyway, thank you for your thoughts.
Thank you, Ice Blast.
So
I gotta say, games like RimWorld and these open world like small text games, they really are pushing on the intellectual capacity of creating entirely different worlds. And this is the type of technology that we've been waiting to see, especially in Microsoft games. And so this has me very hopeful for the future of Obsidian and Bethesda, because the tech that they are working on, and again, we talked about this extensively about the Halo one, where it's like, we know that they've been utilizing some of this tech in Halo. Why they didn't show that off, and said why they just showed off graphics, I mean, it boils down to the thing that you got a bunch of analysts in a room who are going, our kids don't want to see an intelligent AI system. They want to see the next 4K graphics, because, they weren't just happy with 2K. They want 4K. And next year, they're going to want 8K. And it's only graphics that people care about. I hate to break it to them, but gameplay has always been the most important thing. I have ancient games made with ancient engines on my computer that I still play today, because they have good gameplay.
Oh, hell yeah.
I don't play the games that remember Sin? Like Sin was one of the first games that you needed a graphics card for. And its storyline consisted mostly of just shooting things. Nobody talks about that game anymore. You know why? Because it was garbage. It had its story was garbage. The gameplay was garbage. It was pretty to look at, and things that are pretty to look at don't last.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is the reason why. Yeah, this is the reason why I'll go back and play the original Deus Ex. I have played it many times. I suffer through the terrible graphics and the really clunky control system, because the gameplay, the choice, the story, all of it is so good. That's you want a game that lasts. It has to make an emotional impact, and it has to resonate with the player like that. Graphics be damned.
Yep.
All right. Next,
bring on Max.
Max next. Max Darrett, how is it going, sir?
Who are you?
Who am I?
What are you doing in my room? I was just brought in here. What the heck's going on?
Hi.
Good old Max. Has been a guest on our podcast many times before. Yeah.
If you don't know Max runs the Max Direct channel, where he talks a lot about like pop culture, video games, movies, and autism.
And I'm very much looking forward to hearing your thoughts on this. So what do you think? How can Cyberpunk 2077 be fixed? What does it need?
Flying cars. Have a good night, everybody.
All right. Thanks, Max. Thank you. We'll
just kidding.
Wrap the show up there.
Well, obviously that is one thing that I do want, but I actually do have more substantive things that I can actually add to this. Multiple private parts. No, I'm kidding. Populate. So basically, it's just a lot of the.
I agree with that one, actually.
Well, yeah, yes. Who doesn't want to have a Squidward nose, but populate the streets and the roads as we drive. That's my number one thing. It's the number one thing that was bothering me the most when I was playing it. You drive for a minute, and then once you get up to top speed, there's nothing else going on around you. I mean, you drive and then you stop, and there's still nothing around you. But then you turn the camera 180, and then people just spawn in. It's so immersion breaking. Second thing, another thing that somebody else brought up before is probably the most pertinent thing on everybody's minds who's ever played this game, is that the texture pop in when you're up close to stuff, whether it's the cars or the people, is so bad. And considering the fact that I have a relatively powerful PC, the fact that this sort of thing still happens is unacceptable. I want it to be fixed immediately. And then there's the whole cop thing, customizing vehicles. Obviously, that's another thing that a lot of people have brought up. One thing that actually came to my mind the other day, that probably won't be added to the main game, but I'd like to see it added in DLC, is more missions with Jackie. I felt that our time with him was a little bit too short, and I felt like there was more character there with him, and just being able to go on missions with him was quite fun. So if there's some way we can add more of him into, like, maybe going back in time or something, I don't know, or whatever, maybe it could be something like a Johnny Silverhand thing. Who knows? I'd love to see more stuff with him. And then one final thing. I know it's kind of late for this, but I just wish that there was some way that you could maybe buy property and then have somewhere in your property to put things on display. You kind of already have that with the guns. with the gun racks. Yeah, but aside from that, I'd like to, maybe go on a big mission and you pick up a trophy and you can put it, or even just a random item that you could put on your shelf just to.
Yeah, I want a
walk-in closet where I can save outfits on display.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, I was super disappointed that they didn't have, I put in 2 records that I picked up right away because I was like, ooh, I want to put these on display, and I couldn't. And I was like, oh, that's disappointing. Yeah. But the good news is that that is pretty easy to do. The setup for modding is really easy to do. And again, I know some people, they don't want modders to fix the game. They want the developers to fix the game. I disagree, because if we rely on that too much, then you don't get modding, and modding culture takes a hit. I think that it's a great concept and it's a great idea for the for that kind of a system to really come from the modders, because Skyrim houses and Fallout houses are one of the biggest modding packs that you can get on the various places for mods where you have tremendous amount of people. A shout out to, and I've forgotten her name, but the girl who makes most of the houses for the Skyrim world. She is absolutely blessed with just having an amazing ability to create these amazingly beautiful, very iconic, very lore friendly houses. And that is something that I think when we get that brought over, that we will see a lot of that.
But that's what modding should be. Modding should be adding to. It should be, adding things that.
Yeah, but some people would argue that the housing thing is something that the developers should have added in on the baseline code, and I disagree with that, because again, I think it's still coming. Like they've had this desire to do housing. They know that that's a high request, so I suspect that we will see it at some point, most likely in mods and in official DLC and expansions coming down the road. Same with car customization. I do believe it is coming, because it's one of those top requested things that they have been continually getting, and I think the company knows that they really want to answer that call.
We know that even though with Cyberpunk having a rocky start, whatever your opinion is on it, that they do intend to keep this franchise going for a long time. Even with all the drama going on around it, it still made a hell of a lot of money. Cyberpunk 2077 definitely did make its money back, and it's going to use that money to put forward all these things in the future through DLC, multiplayer, and sequels. And obviously one of the easiest things that you can do, especially with, a city that's as big as Night City, and a city that's easily identifiable by how colorful and how detailed it is. Making car customization and allowing multiple property purchasing seems like an absolute no-brainer.
All right, thank you for your thoughts, Max. We got to let you go, but definitely,
dog.
Yeah, thanks for joining in. Really appreciate having you here. And Saib mentioned earlier, Saib is doing regular guest spots over on Max's channel, so check that out.
Yes, and then we have Jamuse coming up.
Jamuse, our last call of the day, and he wasn't sure he'd be able to join in the room, but he says he can now. Hey, Jamuse, how's it going?
Howdy, folks. How's it going?
It's going well. Great to have you.
I think we need to turn him up a little bit. He's a little quiet, or that might just be me.
Well, I've got him up. I've got him turned up on my end now. So.
Yeah, we're good.
All right. I know you have a lot of opinions about this.
Well, the honest truth is, I have yet to play the game yet because of everything that has been going on. I sat here and gave it the review of being unfinished out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
So my whole thing has always been to investigate the game. What is going on? What is going on with regards to the executive meddling? I don't know if this has been answered already, but how can we trust the leadership if they have been stopping the developers from making the game as they have basically been able to work on it? I know that we already talked about the places. This is an untrue rumor. I don't know. We got to take it with a grain of salt. But to me, somebody that has been immersed in the lore of 2020 as well as Red, how are we supposed to sit here and trust the CDPR leadership when Mike Pondsmith gave us his word, and it seems that CDPR is unable to sit here and basically deliver on the promises that we were told starting in 2012?
Well, I think this has been a clarion call for them. I think they've received the word very loud and clear. There's a lot of people who have been comparing this to other games, and we're gonna do a special video on that, comparing it to other games that have had hard starts, like 76, No Man's Sky. But I think people forget. Again, not counting the PlayStation, but looking at 76, looking at No Man's Sky, there were way more features that were promised right up until like it launched, and then it was like, nope, sorry. And then and then there were no returns. Like, I had 2 hours in No Man's Sky when I tried to return it, and I was told flat out, nope, you played more than you were allowed to. And then, like, when I wrote the studio basically said, no, we're not returning. We're not giving you your money back. And again, I didn't need the money, but I needed them to understand that I didn't like that. I was upset with the product. Now, people have been comparing it to it, and it's a good comparison, but like, good Lord, it's not to the level of No Man's Sky. People forget how bad No Man's Sky was and how many features were completely lied about. It took like 5 days for two people to like run into each other on the same planet in the same space, and they discovered that a promise that was made just days before of, oh yeah, once you meet another character, if you ever meet a character, the probability of that is like 1,000,000,000 to 1. You'll never meet another character in the game. They discovered that they were in the same world. They were on the same place. They were on the same planet, standing right next to each other, but they couldn't even see each other. And worse than that, they couldn't even see what each other was doing to the world around them. So that's how much of a lie that was. Now, yes, we've had a lot of like, things not come true in this game, and we've had a lot of problems with this game. But I don't think these things are the end of the world. They're certainly not at that level of that. They're certainly not at the level of 76. But it's close, but it's not quite there. And I think the chance of us getting a solid game out of this down the road is a whole lot more likely and a whole lot faster, considering it took No Man's Sky years and years to fix what they had done there. And I think we're going to see it. I think we're going to see it fixed far sooner than that was presented to us.
Yeah.
So,
and my thing is, honestly, I'm not. It's not that the game isn't. It's that we all know that the potential is there. It's just the fact that it was undercooked, and what CDPR promised was to deliver it when it was ready, and that seems to be what is the major disappointment for so many people. I think that is the key issue why so many people are upset. If you're saying that you're going to deliver this when it's ready, but this obviously wasn't ready, everybody's looking at this and like, I want to smack you so hard for disappointing me so much. But that's my main thing. Other than that, lore is probably the other thing, but I don't know. I've heard a lot of things about the lore, Johnny Silverhand and everything, but I guess I'll have to wait on that one for another day.
Yeah, that's I mean, there's an in-depth discussion to be had there for sure, and we're not necessarily the most equipped to. Well, maybe Cyb is. I'm not sure. I know I don't have enough of a knowledge of the lore to comment on that specifically myself.
Oh, just look in the Discord. We had that last night.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of you having that kind of a discussion. But all right, well, thanks for joining it. And
I want to get to this comment in the chat. Poshcat, Poshcat has a good memory because they remember PlayStation at launch for Skyrim and the main boss falling through the world and vanishing, and then you suddenly weren't able to finish the game. On PC, you were not able to finish the game on the PC launch. I believe the same was for the Xbox as well. You could not, with the day zero unpatched game, you could not finish the game without having prior knowledge of certain bugs and how not to trigger them in certain ways. And so that if you were just a normal player playing through the world, 1,000 to 1 you were encountering a gigantic wall of bugs that made the game unplayable. Now they got patches out that fixed it. I think we have to remember that gaming, unfortunately today, and I do say that unfortunately, is a process of repairing things once it's come out, and I don't know how to fix that in the I don't know how that gets fixed.
All right. And on that note, that's where we're gonna wrap up the show for today. But wow, we had way more people joining us for this first call-in show than I was expecting. Thank you so much, everybody. We got a great community here, and a lot of those folks you heard are very active members of our Discord community. So if you're new here and you want to find some good people to talk to, we work very hard and have a great team of mods on the Discord to really help to keep it a positive place. And I know there's a lot of chaos going on in the world right now. No politics talk allowed outside of the off-topic room, which is an opt-in room you can join if you want, but we're keeping it a place for escapism. So, if you want a place to get away from talking about politics and all that crap, I mean, we're not perfect, but we try to keep it that way. So, yeah, we really appreciate that. By the way, slam that like button if you haven't already. And I just realized I hadn't double-checked and updated our Big Damn Heroes and channel members list, so I hope this is accurate. This is from the end of 2020, but anyway, thank you to our Patreon supporters and channel members: Robin, Shua82, Timebean, Schoolaman, Lady Reaver, Draco Den, Niv, 2Tall12, and Atomic Stew. And our channel members: Jer Schultz, Game Notes, Night City Punk, and Terror K. Thank you all so much. For those of you listening, if you haven't slammed that like button, please do hit that. I might have said that already. I can't remember, but anyway, getting a little hungry, and I've got tacos upstairs waiting for me, so gotta get to that. The brain's craving some nourishment. Plus, then we're gonna go watch the Yoshi's Island run at AGDQ 2021 speedrun charity event happening now. If you're not familiar with that, check it out at twitch.tv/gamesdonequick. If you're a speedrunning fan, you'll probably get a kick out of it. All right, thank you so much for joining us, everybody. And as always, on behalf of Cyb and Moontag, we will talk to you again very soon.